Infrastructure, one of the top priorities for the Biden administration. It's also a priority for Congressman Matt Cartwright as he's advocating for federal funding for the northeastern Pennsylvania rail expansion. Recently, the House just passed the Invest in America Act that will highlight progress on the efforts to connect northeastern Pennsylvania and greater New York City with passenger rail. Here to talk about this and more is Congressman Matt Cartwright of Pennsylvania's 8th District. Good evening, Congressman.
Hi, Tim. Thanks for working on Independence Day weekend.
You're welcome, and I'm glad we got to give Jason a day off finally. So the Invest in America Act, we've heard a lot about infrastructure with the Biden administration. What is the Invest in America Act for folks who may not know in a nutshell, if you can put an infrastructure bill in a nutshell?
Well, infrastructure is a $50 word that means roads and bridges and water systems and sewer systems and levees and dikes and the bricks and mortar kind of things that keep our country together. And the Invest in America Act is just that. It's a wide-ranging infrastructure bill to upgrade and maintain and improve our American infrastructure. I couldn't be happier about that, Tim, because I've been waiting a long time. I've been serving in Congress over 8 years, and I've been waiting for a robust bill to fund these things. Look, the greatest generation handed these things down to us. You know, it wasn't enough that they went off and they won World War II and defeated fascism. In the European theater and the Pacific theater. But they came home and they made more sacrifices. They established the Eisenhower interstate highway system for us. They laid down tracks all over the country. They improved electrification, the electrical grid, that whole time. All of which we reap the benefits from. You know, our companies use those roads and rail systems to get their products to market. And here's the thing, we have to keep them up. We cannot turn our backs on this portfolio of investments that the greatest generation handed down to us. The fancy word for that is disinvest. We can't disinvest. We have to maintain these things. We have to keep them up. We have to expand them, and we have to make them work better. Mm-hmm. Because after all, they are the things, the roads, the bridges, the water systems, the sewer system, the rail systems, they are the things that help our companies compete with foreign companies, with Chinese companies, with European companies. The more we help our companies get their products to market faster and cheaper, the more competitive we're going to be. And don't think for a minute that Europe and China are not investing in themselves. You know darn well they are. You read all the time about the bullet trains going up in China and all of the infrastructure investments they're making in themselves. We have to do that, and it's just been a source of frustration to me. You know, you hear about Infrastructure Week. Why, it's Infrastructure Week here in Washington, and that's all just hot air. It's just talk. But this past week, we did more than just talk. We took action, and we passed the Invest in America Act that puts over $700 billion toward these investments. And if we're going to believe in ourselves, if we're going to compete on the world stage, we have to make these investments, and I couldn't be happier that we have taken that step. It'll go to the Senate now, Tim, and you've probably been reading about bipartisan negotiations that President Biden is insisting on. You know, bipartisan, again, another $50 word that means both Democrats and Republicans talking together. And for crying out loud, this shouldn't be a partisan issue. This is the right thing to do for America. and it's not a Democratic or a Republican thing.
Yeah, overall the bill includes $343 billion for roads and bridges, $117 billion for water infrastructure, $109 billion for transportation improvements, $95 billion for rail projects, and $51 billion for wastewater management systems that affect everyone, no matter which party you're in, as you said. But what do you think the chances are in the Senate for this bill?
I like the chances. There are other things that folks want to spend money on, and I'm actually in favor of investing in our electrical grid, investing in our renewable energy sources, investing in a network of plug-in stations for electric vehicles. We don't want to just limit ourselves to the old-fashioned types of infrastructure. We need to be forward-thinking. Again, it all goes to us being competitive going into the future. So there's going to be a lot more debate about that. One of the things, by the way, is rural broadband. Mm-hmm. I am an outspoken advocate for bringing rural broadband, fast internet, to places that don't have it, that are rural. We've done this before. About 80 years ago, we had the Rural Electrification Act under the Roosevelt administration, and the idea was we can't leave places behind in this country. We've got to have electricity going to every little place, every little nook and cranny that needs it in the United States. Otherwise, you're leaving pockets of people behind. Well, it's the same thing for broadband internet. We can't. People want that everywhere, and it's something the government can do. And again, that's part of the broader infrastructure package that people are talking about doing in addition to the Invest in America Act.
Well, and broadband's always been an access to the internet in this area has always been an issue, as transportation is as well. In the introduction, we mentioned you're advocating for federal funding for the NEPA rail expansion. What is that rail expansion, and what would it do for folks locally?
Yeah, that's one thing that in the Invest in America Act that we passed last week, it includes $32 billion for expanding Amtrak. And one thing that the president has mentioned specifically is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is underserved for Amtrak. We don't have passenger rail going to Stroudsburg and Scranton and Wilkes-Barre. And one thing Amtrak is very interested in doing is connecting up metropolitan New York City with rail going across the top of the northern part of New Jersey, reaching the Delaware Water Gap, and then going across the Delaware River to East Stroudsburg, and then Stroudsburg, and then working its way up through the Poconos to Scranton. There, they want to turn north and go to Binghamton, and then connect up at Syracuse. So they bring in this broad spectrum of people. Amtrak executives, they think in terms of market share, and they're thinking about all of these passengers they want to pick up for the national rail grid as passengers. I've always been pushing for that, and I'll tell you why. Because studies show that wherever you do that, it's not just, there's like 28,000 people in southern Monroe County who are commuting back and forth to greater New York City every day. Poor souls that have to roll out of bed really early and either get in their cars or get on buses to ride to their jobs, do the job all day, and then ride back. It's not much of a life for all of those people, and it would be a lot easier if they could do it riding the rails. But beyond that, studies have shown that real estate values pick up, that higher paying jobs result, manufacturing enterprises move in. We've been, northeastern Pennsylvania's economy has been lagging behind other parts of Pennsylvania and certainly other parts of the country. And I think it's part of my job to do everything I can do to spur that kind of economic development so people can live a better life, that they can earn a living wage. They can make enough money to take care of the things that that they have in their dreams.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have towns like Honesdale or even the tiny hamlet of Callicoon if it weren't for rail. So
right.
Studies go all the way back. Before we go, I want to talk about your schedule tomorrow. You're going to be in Scranton at Johnson College to make an announcement to the school. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, before I get to that, this Invest in America package, it actually does include a bunch of projects for Pike and Wayne counties. Let's see. Two of them are for bridge replacements on Route 590, one over Ariel Creek, one over the inlet to Finn Swamp in Paupack Township. In Pike County, there's a resurfacing project for $2.4 million in that I got. And then in Berlin Township in Wayne County, a resurfacing project on State Route 652 for over $1 million. I got to the top of the Appropriations Committee, and I've been flexing my muscles. That was kind of the point of running for Congress, to do better for northeastern Pennsylvania and make sure we get our fair share of federal dollars working, and that's been working. We've met with some success, and those projects, I got a lot of help, by the way, from the terrific county commissioners in Wayne and Pike County: Brian Smith, Joe Adams, Jocelyn Kramer in Wayne, and Matt Osterberg, and Ron Schmaltzley and Steve Buccini in Pike, giving us some good guidance on where they think infrastructure money needs to be directed. So hats off to them.
That's some real
Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about workforce development, because that's what Johnson College is all about. We got them a grant. One thing, I went through. I go through a lot of factories in this job, and I had Marty Walsh, the Secretary of Labor, with me about 3 weeks ago, and we went through a place called GMS Piling Products in South Wilkes-Barre, and they make steel pilings that support bridges and all sorts of buildings, and pilings that go deep into the ground. And they make those there. Their biggest problem: they can't find the workforce that they need to expand. They've got the business, they've got the opportunities, but it's hard for them to find qualified people to do the work. That's why investing in places like Johnson College and Lackawanna College and Luzerne County Community College, places that train people up to do these jobs, are so important. And that's what we're doing tomorrow. We're going to announce a federal grant that I got for Johnson College.
Okay. Well, we've been talking to Representative Matt Cartwright from Pennsylvania's 8th District. Congressman, I want to thank you for working on the July 4th weekend, too. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Happy Independence Day, Tim. Good talking to you.
To you as well. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.